Good day. Welcome back to Plate Stack Chat with me, Sam. Hi. As ever, we have Jason, Mr. Jason Croxon, and we have the one and only Tom Forder of Chalk and Fitness, if you didn't know already. Welcome. This is episode 72. Tonight we are going to be joined by a special guest host around the Plate Stack. We'll introduce him when he arrives. But for now, how are you boys? You okay?
Oh, should I let Tom go? I mean, he's got a mouthful of food, so I don't know if I should let him speak or if I should just speak to fill out the time he needs.
I'm feeling like I'm doing probably cardinal sin of podcasting, like eating, right? Unless people think it's that. Is that like that? What's that kind of like sounds that people listen to?
ASMR?
Yeah, it's probably not, right? It's probably the closest thing to OnlyFans that I'll ever get.
Hi everyone, welcome to Plate Stack Chat.
But I'm eating it's my Wednesday night special, which is like salmon, rice, and broccoli, which is inevitably now going to go cold in front of me, right? While I talk to you, wonderful people.
It's all right. You can mute yourself while you eat it. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, I knew you wanted to finish on time this evening, so I've not eaten because I figured if I'm hungry, it will cause me to wrap up on time. I feel like.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should try that when I'm working out, not eat, so I'm hungry, so I'll move quicker.
Exactly.
Get to my dinner.
I do that all the time. All the time.
3 rounds for time and a burger. So,
yep, done.
I tell you what. While we're waiting for our special guest, Jason, we've got to talk to you before we talk about the biggest news in the CrossFit sphere. Is Jason stepping out onto the competition floor for his debut? How was the competition?
I mean, actually, I think
how's it going, Colton?
they just put up a post. Actually, let me just. I literally just saw it as we were logging on. That CrossFit Bath just put out a post with regards to kind of how much we raised.
So yeah, I was going to say maybe start with that. Remind us again, like it wasn't just an in-house comp; it was more than that, wasn't it?
No, it was a charity comp for a charity called Jack's Journey, which is LCH, which is like a kind of cancer. He had basically had a tumor in his skull. So I think like he was deaf in one ear, the little boy, and we're talking about like a little kid who's now 16 months old. So like very, very small, but it's something. It's like a very rare form of cancer, and it affects kind of like 50 kids in the UK in a year. So very sort of under researched, underfunded because it's just very rare. So every year they try to kind of put on a charity comp, but try and pick a charity that's something a little bit more emotionally invested. So, that touches the members a little bit more than just kind of a big corporation, big charity that there's nothing there. We raised £3,767. So
awesome.
That's pretty good. So it was nice. Obviously, we've got our partner box in Trowbridge, so it was a joint venture between the two boxes, both Bath and the Bridge. So I was teamed up with Jake from the Bridge. There was male, mixed pairs, and female as well. 4 workouts in the morning, and then a barbecue, and obviously people were selling. There was like cakes being sold and a raffle and all different things just to kind of bring in the money. But was good. Absolutely, I will probably only compete again if it's very similar circumstances. Like we're doing this for charity, and this is sort of there were every workout there was something that were like, this worries me in this workout. Like this is the bit I'm concerned about. And when I got through those bits, I felt really like that was nice. It was like little victories, and I enjoyed that. But that's the kind of the same joy I get when training, and it's kind of like unlocking a new movement or getting like a new PR or whatever. And I still feel like I enjoyed that so much more than the kind of just go as hard and fast as you can. That's still, I enjoy watching that, but that's not me. So definitely I haven't got the bug to compete now. I'm quite happy to kind of come out, do my one little wave, and then just go back to the media desk and sit behind that or the future events.
I guess it's recognizing the difference between competing and training, right? And often, we could take that in a completely different direction, but it is different. There is commonality, but it's equally like the fuse and go is often the case with competing, and that's not everyone's cup of tea necessarily.
No, although I mean, admittedly, there were a couple of times in a couple of the workouts that I felt that like kick into a gear that I just don't usually use. And that was like, again, that was nice. Like I did like that, but I didn't like that any more than a really good training session. Like we've had this chat in general that I think I've even shifted to the point where now I'm so much more just about the methodology and the training and what's going on in the box, and I'm just loving that even more than the games, for example. Like that's very much a second to. If I could only pick one, it would be training myself more than, and that's just training myself as in to be a relatively fit dad, not like training myself to be.
I think that's probably the
level.
healthiest. That's the healthiest way to be, though, isn't it?
I'd think
if you were that obsessed over the games that you never trained, then that would like, or do you know what I mean? Like, why are we doing? Oh, okay, because we just want to watch some really fit people do fitness.
Yeah, and also felt very out of my depth at this competition when you look across, like around the field at the caliber of some of the athletes that are competing, even though it was like a local throwdown, and across like the 3 different podiums, I reckon there was like 8 to 10 people that had been on a team at Sid Origins. So you're kind of like, yeah, I'm not surprised to take like 15th place. That makes sense. Yeah, I think Alec Harwood and his partner won it for the male. So it's like,
isn't he like regionals athlete?
Yeah.
Well, as long as you kind of took something from it, like you say, you've kind of explored that, you've gone through that door, seen what's on the other side, right? You kind of take something from it and can move forward, right? Put on your Sunday best every so often, but like you say, it's and I don't think there's a right or a wrong kind of outcome to come from it, really.
No, and as I said, I'd interviewed Nick, so Jack's dad, for the CrossFit Buff podcast. I've got another thing I'm recording on Friday, kind of wrap up for this event podcast. So there's very much the charity element of it was there, front and center, and Jack was there, so it was like nice that we were kind of doing the workouts and actually getting to see the kind of the little boy that it's all for. So I think that was very motivational for people, and obviously a lot of the members have kids themselves. I've got kids, so it's something that you can put yourself in the shoes of these parents that are just doing multiple trips to the hospital all the time with a newborn, and that's like not easy, right? Or now you go, okay, he's like 1 now, but it's been going on a while. But but it was good, I mean, maybe the biggest competition or event that took place that weekend, probably.
I imagine Sam and our soon-to-arrive guest will have something different to say about that. Big, it depends how you define big, right? Great to be raising money for charity, obviously, but number of participants. It's probably hard to compete with where Sam was at the weekend. Sam, do we want to talk about that now? Should we wait until?
I was gonna push us on some news, maybe.
Yeah.
How does that work for you boys? While we're waiting for. We won't. Well, should we keep? Let's keep the suspense. I mean, it's not really that suspenseful. I've posted it on my Instagram, and we've all shared it. So I'm sure George will be here. He had, he's just with the client at the
Zach George, was that?
Not Zach George. No, we couldn't get him because he's not famous enough.
I'm sure we can fill with whatever has been imploding in the CrossFit verse for the last kind of 7 days.
Well, there it is. Whoop, there it is.
I was going to say, Tom, put up your hands. I just need to. I need to see something.
Yeah.
Just everybody raise their hand.
There we are. So it's still wearing your whoop strap, are you?
Well, I was wearing a whoop strap before it was even a.
You're
CrossFit
so
partner,
hipster.
So.
You're like the CrossFit hipster. I was doing it before it was cool.
Sorry.
So,
I've
oh
got
no,
a
no, it was
drama.
already cool. That's why I was doing it, but it wasn't kind
A
of
sponsor.
yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I've only seen what's on social media, and this is going to be something. A common theme that I'm going to say probably across the number of things we talk about is that the official narrative appears to be lacking, and the social media fills the void with whatever it wants, right? So it's kind of like I've not seen anything quoting something official from Whoop or something official from CrossFit, and so Morning Chalk Up have highlighted it, and all they've done is they've presented the facts that exist, right? Which they've not got an exclusive with X or Y, and then social media is just kicking up a storm.
But that's what keeps happening because we never get information. And there's that kind of idea of like, well, are you entitled to the information? Do you deserve to know? And that's like with the Dave Castro stuff, it was a bit like that. It's like, well, we've made a decision, and why do you feel like you have the right to know all the things all the reasons we made a decision? But the problem is this: if you do something and people see it, and then you don't say anything, and there's just a vacuum, of course people are going to fill that with speculation. So the only thing we know is that when when you're like selecting your workout, it's no longer CrossFit. And then if you look at on the like the quarterfinals where they had all the sponsors, they still have like GoWad and Noble and Rogue and Fawn and all of that. And Whoop was there, but it's not there anymore.
Oh, we'll see. We shall see. Well, that's going to be. We'll do another little news nugget at the end. Oh, we were about to get George in, but he was in the studio. So for those of you, let's give a little bit of a behind the scenes now, because we are. We use a thing called StreamYard, and basically we're in a virtual studio, and people can hop in and out if we send them the link. So George is back; he's in the game. We are going to get him in now. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, and everyone in the world, the one and only George Edwards. Here he is. How we doing, mate? All right?
One entry.
There you go.
Unbelievable. Cheers, fellas.
We try our best. We try our best. So,
we try our best. I want to go back now and listen to the introduction that Tom and I got because
you were the one and only. Well, you would. I mean, I think you were just Jason.
Yeah, there we go.
So I think Tom was the one and only Tom Forder of Chalking Fitness.
Interesting.
It's when George. This is Jason and Tom. You've probably seen that. You can get their autographs later. I'm sure they'll send them to you.
That'd be handy
if you're desperate.
For
them, which I'm sure you are. But yeah, let's introduce George. George is a Hyrox master trainer. He's a really fit bloke. He did Hyrox at the weekend where I was in London as a pair with Hogs, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah, Tom Hogan gave it a bash. So it's like my fifth one going round in doubles or singles. Been kind of training for it for a little while. It's a bit of a soul taker of an event, to be honest with you. But I keep going back for more because I'm got nothing better to do. And I can't do. I don't like CrossFit.
Right, that's it. He's cancelled.
That's a bit of a lie. That's a bit of a lie. I do like some CrossFit. I just there's elements to it.
Do you want us to tell you what this podcast, what the options of the podcast were going to be called?
No.
Because there was going to be some clickbaity one, but there was also Hyrox for CrossFitters who can't overhead squat. What was the other one?
I can overhead squat. That's not a problem. It's more like actually generic things. I'm just terrible at double unders. I just think it's a bullshit movement. It's like boring. I'm like, why would you want to whip yourself in the shins over and over again? Like what? Like what's wrong with single? What's wrong with single unders? Why you gotta raise
the same as like why would you push a sled up and down?
I don't know.
Oh, that's got
it's wall balls. Wall balls is the one I want to call you out on.
Like wall balls. But that's just because you're a bit shorter than the average bear.
I think sled push is good. Like everyone's had to push a car at some moment in their life, and I know it's terrible. And I'm like, yeah, that's a reasonable, that, you know, various techniques work, but ultimately it's just grunt, you know. No, I don't really hate CrossFit. I just laugh at some of the programming. Like I did the ladder of deadlifts and burpees the other month in the, you know, in the open, to be like, how dumb is this workout? And I got to like up the ladder, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty dumb. I've got no back, I've got no hamstrings, and I'm a mess. But then saying that, people would do this differently, you know. I was kind of like doing strict deadlifts. I wasn't like bouncing the bar, you know. I was getting my chest down to the floor each time. You know, I see some horrible things in CrossFit, and it just kind of like, you know, it's good for the, like, if you're a proper athlete and you've gone through the training required, then hats off. You can hold your own. But like, I don't know if it's something we want to be like pushing out to everybody and anybody without really doing some fine tuning of their athletic history. Like if you skip PE at school and then you like 10 years later you rock up to a CrossFit, like there's got to be some like screening of your movements like thoroughly. And I think a lot of good boxers do. I just know that some don't, and it's very easy to get like roped into that way. And yeah, it's just not for everybody, you know. Matt Fraser aside, I love that guy, fucking hero. But I'm like, yeah, he's an ex-Olympic athlete, you know, pretty much. You know, like he just Ollie lifted for like 10 years in the Olympic Academy. He didn't just like do 400-meter reps and, you know, like bench. You know, he lived and died by it. So I think Hyrox, it's simple. Anybody can do it, you know, with a little bit of coaching. And I think that's like massively appealing to the general public. Hence 4,480 odd people rocking up this weekend.
I think it's interesting. Like definitely RX is getting harder within kind of competitive CrossFit, kind of year in, year out, as like the elites get more elite. And it really requires people to kind of check the ego, and when not trying to go kind of, let's like that deadlift and burpee workout. Like there are many people, including myself, who had no business doing that RX because I hadn't trained that level of capacity in deadlifting and well, burpees either. But you know, at least a burpee's pretty accessible. But in terms of the deadlifting, right? And you know, if you are of that real competitive nature, you can kind of light the fuse and go hard, and your back is not kind of conditioned for it. But I guess like it's the case with like any kind of test of fitness. If you've not kind of conditioned yourself to it, you run the risk of kind of getting an injury, right? Because like like Hyrox, for example, has got 8 kilometers of running within it, right? And couched to 5K is like run for a minute, walk for a minute, run for a minute, to build up that conditioning in your legs. So I know when I've been shirking away from the running, which is often, that even the 400-meter laps feel pretty kind of arduous. So I guess it's a lesson to anyone, and perhaps, you know, if there's 100 kilos on the bar, then the kind of potential for injury is higher than, say, giving yourself shin splints from running when you've not run before.
I just thought it was a random workout. Like the open is normally a little bit more friendly than that, and all of a sudden that was a crazy amount of reps of both movement. That, like, if you think about it like this, right, a deadlift is like, how stable is your spine? How stable are you trying to make your body? How much can you push away the floor, and what's your like force production? And then 2 seconds later, a burpee is like, be a noodle, just you know, flop to the floor and stand up. So like,
a noodle,
like, you know, just you know, just fall down quickly and jump up. So the stimulus is kind of like, you know, it's contradictory. Like, I know you can like keep your core tight and do a burpee and spring back up, but that's never what it leads to, especially with that amount of volume. So the stimulus is just a joke because, you know, you're not getting one or the other. So it's actually just like incredibly dangerous programming unless you're like, you know, conditioned to that level, and you can wear a weight belt and all the rest of it. But yeah, like it was just kind of like, why? That's not a test of anything. So
well, I think the why is because they wanted to pick something that you didn't need to do CrossFit to do.
Yeah.
And like that was, we've spoken about the Open this year, and like no Olympic lifting. Like the first workout, the second workout were actually very similar stimuluses, and then like the third workout, you finally kind of got some high school gymnastics, but you really had to earn that, and actually the majority of people didn't even get that far, so
Sure.
it wasn't an issue. And so like, yeah, I agree, like the deadlift burpee thing was kind of crazy, but much better would have been doing cleans or snatches or some kind of Olympic lift in that portion. And of course they're not programming that because they wanted to make this super accessible, which you've got a scale division that is super accessible. I don't know why you need to but we've gone down that rabbit hole. But I also think I think again, and this is probably where like social media comes in, and you're saying like, I saw a lot of really bad stuff, and that's true, but again, it's just because that's what people like. The people that are sharing, like the kind of person that's sharing everything they're doing on social media, and maybe doesn't have the skill necessary to do these things, like they're kind of the same person, right? Because probably they're ego lifting, because they're like going, like Tom's saying, some people had no business doing certain things, and they do it anyway because it's the ego. And then that's also a similar kind of person. And then I'm going to make sure everyone sees this really killer workout I did. And I just think about like all the people that do CrossFit that like don't even know what the Open is unless someone explains it to them, and don't care where they stack up. And actually, like you're saying, the people that last time they did something was at PE at school, and it's been 20, 30 years, and now they're coming in, and it's sort of like, right, no, you're not going to use the barbell, you're going to use a PVC pipe. We're going to get you squatting again just so you can kind of get the movement that you need. And I guess that's the bit that CrossFit are trying to shine a light on more now. Whether or not they're doing that successfully is a matter of debate, isn't it? But what the majority of people see is games, and then I would put it as like CrossFit games and games level athletes, people that just are posting stuff on Instagram for views, which quite often is very bad. And then there's like the hidden CrossFit that is all the affiliate members around the world that are just training for longevity and life, and that's the bit that most people kind of don't see. And I think that's where the variety of stuff within CrossFit is great, because there's kind of something for everyone. There's going to be something that everyone's a bit good at, something that everyone's got to work at, something that something that they can scale in, scale out, sub in, sub out. So that's my.
Well, that's where we were sort of touching on that just before, because we at the beginning of the episode we always we try to talk about like what we're up to, and actually like Jason has already said previously that he didn't really like the Open because it just got in the way of his training, because he just loves training, which is great, and in CrossFit boxes up and down the world, all around the world, there are people who just love training. And yes, the Open's great because CrossFit, but and this is where we sort of cross over into like the whole what's happening with Hyrox, because I was having a couple of conversation with a couple of buddies, because I was talking about Hyrox and how a couple of the girls from my gym went and competed as a pair. Oh, he's gone. He'll be back. But he won't be able
Sam,
to hear,
before
though.
kind of going into that, I wanted to ask you, because you were at Hyrox. So we're recording right on. Well, actually, it's going out live on like Wednesday, May 4th, right? April 30th was the culmination of the UK.
I was waiting for it. As soon as you said May 4th, I was like, let me look at Sam.
May the 4th be with you.
Hello.
He's back.
I'm here.
We got you back, George.
It's all good, mate.
Did you guys drop out?
I knew he was No, just you. That's all right.
And
just me.
I took the opportunity.
We pressed the Hyrox button. That was it. It was the Hyrox eject.
Yeah, I took the opportunity to hijack it and make sure we. I think Sam was maybe going to get into it, but I was like, well, we've just had Hyrox London, right? April 30th. So that was I got the impression. I've still yet to go to a Hyrox event, but I got the impression it was a pretty big event. George, you mentioned already there were over 3,000, maybe over 4,000 people taking part, right? So it's even just talking about it in isolation rather than versus CrossFit or versus OCR or anything, it sounded like it looked like it was a spectacle and a load of fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been like in the making for a few years. Obviously, with like lockdowns and the pandemic and stuff, kind of everyone's getting itchy feet and everyone's like bored at doing workouts by themselves. And obviously, there are so many communities within fitness, you know, whether it be the gym or, you know, like a My Zone, for example, like a community of fitness where people are working out together online. And then like now this is arena fitness essentially. So now it brings an opportunity to like meet new people, showcase your abilities, or run with a friend, or catch up with someone, or run with your gym, or it incorporates trainers coaching clients to bring groups of people to the event as well. And what Hyrox has done really well is, with a lot of help from like colleagues and stuff, but it was almost like guerrilla marketing at first. You know, we were like, how are we gonna break this brand in the UK? Because I was talking about it in 2020 and no one knew, you know, what the hell I was talking about. Essentially, everyone's like, what's this? You know, and I would try to get CrossFitters involved and they'd be like, what'd you say, how much running? And they would just laugh. That's all they heard, and they were like, just stop talking to me. And I was like, yeah, you'll see, you'll be doing it. And you know, basically there was like, you know, they kept moving the first London. Originally it was going to be April 2021 was going to be the first like London Hyrox. Sorry, April 2020. And obviously it kept getting moved and moved back, and no one knew what was going on. But they had like a lot of ambassadors talking online about it. They had like a virtual workout where it literally went around the world, where they made very simple workouts that you could upload with that terrible app. What's it called? What's that app that everyone uses? WODproof. Whoever made WODproof, it's a terrible app. Okay, do better. So basically, everyone was uploading that. So everyone's like just pushing this without an actual like fixated date of an event occurring. And then we get the green light and London's in the books, and it's now like a huge push. And myself and a few other people, we were doing gym tours of like, you know, this PFT, which is like a mini Hyrox kind of taste. It's like a 20-25 minute workout. And we were going around London to all the cool gyms and doing it. And some people were like, I like this. And what's the actual event? And the sign-ups just started to like, you know, go through the roof. The PFT.
PFT. Yeah. So that stands for physical fitness test, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a baseline test that anyone can do in the gym.
But after a PFT, like I've been to some of the activation like sessions, and after that, I would do a Hyrox off the back of a PFT because I was like, yeah, this is legit. Like, it's only 25 minutes, and then you see the workout. We haven't actually talked about what a Hyrox workout is. So a Hyrox workout, if you don't know what it is, obviously George, you do, but because you're the master trainer, or not you're a. It's not like
myself and Jade. Yeah.
Levels of being a Jedi. Is that on May the 4th?
Basically, I'm still waiting for my cape to come through the post.
Yeah.
When that lands.
The question is, do you have a Padawan?
A what? Sorry.
A Padawan, like someone
apprentice.
You're training, an apprentice. Yeah.
No. So myself and Jade Skillen.
They don't have to have like a little rat tail kind of.
Just outright Jedis. We've killed everybody else. we're the last.
You're on
standing.
the dark side. That's it. I feel like
that's it.
But if you obviously George, you know, but I'll just go through what you might expect from a Hyrox, because it's the same everywhere in the world.
Are you reading this off a screen, or can you close your eyes and actually remember it?
I'll close my eyes and remember it if you want. I mean, some people will be listening to this, so it won't really matter. No, but I can read it off a screen, or you can close your eyes and memorize it if you want. Come on. Close your eyes and do it.
I know this stuff. You know, I live.
It's like if you're a CrossFitter and you're listening, then I'll talk through it in CrossFit terms. So it's a 1K run buy-in. Okay, and then we've got,
hold on, because I know it's like wall balls and ski erg and things like that. And I was thinking,
a lot of buying.
How is he turning this into CrossFit terms? And he started with buy-in. So there we go.
Buy-in. There you
Got
go.
it.
So,
Okay.
so basically, it's 8 workouts with a 1K buy-in before each one. No, so it's a 1K run, then a 1K ski erg, then a 1K run, then a 50-meter sled push, 1K run, 50-meter sled pull, 1K run, 80-meter burpee broad jumps. They're more savage than you think. Then a 1K run, then a 1K row, 1K run, 200-meter farmer's carry. More savage than you think. Then a 1K run.
How heavy's the farmer?
64.
Yeah, if you're a pro, it's 232 kilo dumbbells. Kettlebells, sorry. If you're not pro, it's 224, so it's not too bad. A farmer's carry, then a 1K run, then a 100-meter sandbag lunge. They are 10 kilos for women, for non-pro. I don't even know what
it's 10 kilo, 20 kilo, or 30 kilo, depending on the category you're in.
Yeah. Sandbag lunges, the 1K run, and then 75 or 100 wall balls. If you are in the pro category, that is a 9 kilo wall ball. If you are not, it is a 6 kilo wall ball. And if you are a lady in the non-pro category, I think it's a 3 kilo or 4 kilo wall ball, I believe. And then there's no more running. That's it. You finish on the wall balls, or you kind of have to run up the slope to the finish line. And that's it really. It's the arena fitness is the best way of describing it. It's a spectacle. I was like, I obviously I'd done the gym tours before, and I was like, oh, this is okay. Like, this is cool. Like, how are they going to make this sort of a spectacle? How are they going to make it fun? Like, how are they going to make it accessible for like thousands of people? And then I got there, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is epic. So it's like, imagine if you were I'm just sort of throwing it out to the people who haven't ever seen one before. But if you imagine, we're in the XL. It's a big square room. It's big, really, really big. And you've got in the middle, there's a special, what's it called? The special zone, the middle zone. It's like the rock zone. So that's where like all the stuff happens. There are 8 sort of zones that you go into, and then you run around the outside. You do 2.5 laps of the outside, and then you come into the rock zone, and you go to area number 1, which will be your ski erg. And then you run back out, do your 2.5 laps, and then you come back in again, and you're into area 2, and it goes and goes and goes and goes. And it's really cool.
Does everyone do it in the same order? Like, is it always in the same order?
Always.
And unless you're just so disorientated by the run, and you just go in the wrong place. There was a guy this time in London that did it 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So he started on the wall balls and ended on the ski erg, and no one even noticed that he was doing it. I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
But you get penalties as well. So you get a chip. You get a chip put on you somewhere. I don't know if they probably in a jab somewhere. Or,
I was going to say just injected under the skin.
Yeah,
somewhere.
that's
Hyrox
it.
for
No,
life.
you get a wristband. Is it a wristband or an ankle band? And you
ankle,
you go over the chip boards. But that's how you get given your penalties and stuff, isn't it? I believe.
Yeah. So if you run an extra lap, or you run less than required, or if you skip something, then it obviously won't go off, and then that'll go against you later on. So it's all
is there like a scheduled penalty? Is there a standardized penalty?
Yeah,
so
3 minutes.
You did an extra lap. How many is that? How long is that?
I think it's 3 minutes.
So if you run an extra lap, you get 3 minutes added on top of the extra lap that you ran.
No. If you run an extra lap, if you skip a lap, if you do less than required,
you get 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think if that.
No, it doesn't work.
Run a K. No, but I reckon I'm not sure I could run a K in 8 minutes. So I reckon that's probably quicker. So I could just skip the running and have a decent time anyway. I like this.
There'll be some loophole that I haven't thought of and you haven't thought of that this will fail.
Which is why it's not. Because otherwise people just
probably minimum work requirement will be
But the idea being, fellas, is just it's so every gym in the country now has pretty much got all this equipment. Like, you go to a pure gym, they got a sled track, they got a ski erg, they got a treadmill. You know, there's always a sandbag or something.
If I'm there, they've got a fort. I used to build forts at Pure Gym. No.
There you go. So they got everything you need.
Yeah, it does sound really accessible. Like,
well, it's basically like an Ironman, a marathon, or a 5K or a 10K run, the distance never changed. The triathlon doesn't change. You can do different distances, but essentially, like, what does the average gym goer have to train for that's specific to them? And if they use all these stations in the gym, like, independently, then why can't they compete in that? And it's not uncommon for, like, anybody to go to the gym, run for a bit, do some lunges, run for a bit, do some squats, run for a bit, do some press ups. So they've just made a standardized race, for categories. And, the really cool thing is you can compare yourself globally to, like, someone in Miami who just ran in your age wave, and you can kind of see where you're at, which is powerful. And obviously the best thing and the worst thing about going back to CrossFit is, like, there's just so many new things to train for. Like, how do you keep up with that stimulus? Whereas this is like a lot of people will tell you that when you do Hyrox as often as I do, I don't really get sore. Like, the soreness doesn't happen anymore. Like, mentally exhausted, CNS exhaustion, but, like, I don't get DOMS from a race anymore. A little bit tight the next day, but I could train if I had to. I don't want to, obviously, but, like, it's not that, like, where you've just done a new back squat session and you're like, oh my god, I can't sit down. Like, I'm just falling or shuffling. You don't really get that because it's so much of the same training. So
sounds boring to me.
I mean,
I live for DOMs.
It
my DOMs have DOMs.
Can be some of the training. Some of the training.
Fair, if you made me do an 8K run, boring. I would have some serious DOMs.
Yeah,
that would be
no doubt.
Just off the bat. But I have said that I am going to do Hyrox. Well, I've said to people now. I'm saying it on a place where I'm not going to be able to take it back. I will be doing Hyrox.
37 minutes in, everybody. If you want to make a note, timestamp that 37 minutes.
I will be doing Hyrox in London.
We'll do Hyrox.
Put that into a meme or something.
I will be doing Hyrox in October.
And if we're speaking of people doing Hyrox, I should give a big shout out to a lot of the Bath Fit fam that went down to London. So I'm trying to think who was there. I know Evie, Laura, Tina, Coxie, Ross, Hetty. They were all there in London. I know Aaliyah went in Spain. So quite a number that train at CrossFit Bath have gone and done one or more Hyrox events. So it's definitely. Oh, what does Tom think?
Well, no, the first thing I was going to say was that, like, sorry, Jason, I've interrupted you there, but I was just building on what you were saying there. Is that the nature of Hyrox as well is that, like, as long as you kind of manage to get a ticket, anyone can go, right? So you're not having to worry about whether your mates qualify or anything like that. You can kind of all jump on the train or whatever mode of transport you prefer and kind of have a day of it, right? So,
yeah, there's World Championships in Las Vegas next week, so you've got to qualify for that. Obviously,
I'll probably get a wild card. I'm still holding out for Christian.
I was just going to say, you'd be odds on to get my wild card for the top 15. Definitely
living the dream. Living the dream. Yeah. Well, I've heard on good authority that George here and Hunter, who has also been on the podcast, are pretty good friends. That good friends, they go to karaoke bars together.
It's been known.
It's been known. I may have even seen the footage on an unnamed source's phone, who may very well be on the podcast for the first time today.
Not me.
No,
is that Zone 9?
Very much so for the man.
Basically, I learned that when having only met Hunter, like, I knew of Hunter for years because I'd obviously raced against him in obstacle course racing, like, for a long time. I was just at the back and he was at the front. And so I noticed, though, after one particular championship, that he likes to get pretty loose and wild after a world championship. And it turns out that when he came to London back in September, it's actually just like most races, he likes to let go a little bit. So, we had a wild night when he came into London. And then when I was over at his last month, we were training up at his cabin, and we went to a karaoke bar. And I will say, I ordered, I think, how many of us were there? Like 6 of us. I ordered like 5 or 6 shots of tequila, and the bar the bar lady brought me literally like whiskey tumbler glasses full to the line of straight tequila. And I was a bit confused. I was like, yeah, no, I'm looking to like mix this with a bit of ice and lime and, you know, sip it. And she's like, are you complaining? And I'm like, nope, I guess I'm not. I just need another 5 glasses so I can dilute these suckers down, you know? So I saw the majority of those off pretty quickly. Hunter was actually fairly even keeled. I was an absolute wreck. But yeah, he took up the opportunity to sing karaoke in this bar and picked a really creepy song. I still don't know the name of it. I'll try to get it to you, but it's it's so creepy.
We'll break that one on our socials at some point.
Yeah. Like it would be the last song you would put on any Instagram story to go with any workout. Like you wouldn't. Yeah. So yeah, no, he gets pretty loose. He's a good guy. He's very, very humble. He's completely different to like his social media personality. He's very generous and he's very funny, but like also he's just literally always the hardest worker in the room. That's why he's so good. Like he generally showed me like a lesson on intensity that I hadn't seen before, that very few people can understand, but he really knows his shit. And yeah, he's a product of his own hard work, I guess. So yeah, hats off to him.
Well, sort of bringing that back round to Hyrox and that, like, what's going on with Hyrox. So obviously CrossFit started as a methodology and kind of grew from there.
Yeah.
Like Hyrox obviously comes from Tom definitely knows more about this than certainly me, because Christian went on Chalking Fitness podcast. You may or may not have listened to it. I imagine you have, because Christian doesn't do many podcasts, I don't think.
No.
But he was a triathlete, from what I can gather, from what I listened. But he created him and oh my gosh, I had a drink with
Jacob Mincher, Tilly.
Mincher, that's it. Yeah, but they kind of created it, but it didn't come from like a methodology as such. It was like an event, and now it's kind of being backfilled with guys like yourselves who are sort of master trainers now, kind of growing affiliate an affiliate program, for example, and training sort of a training path. Is it called path?
It seems there's like a marketplace growing around it. Like my understanding, having spoken to Christian, is like it came in as a mass participation fitness race. Christian's got a background in Ironman and kind of putting on mass participation events. So again, I've not been to one, but it appears to have that. It seems to be very well executed as a mass participation event, and understanding of the challenges that brings, and then the limitations it needs to bring. But it does seem like, and perhaps not unsurprisingly, that you're seeing people who are now targeting their training on like Hyrox races, peaking for Hyrox races, etc., and thus then becomes a marketplace around that, whether it be for Hyrox affiliated training spaces, master trainers, coaches, things like that as well.
Yeah, there's a new, like, I guess it's been happening the last few years, right? And thanks to CrossFit as well. That's what one of the cool things about it is, you know, it just brought barbells to the masses, right? And so out of that creates like a new like hybrid athlete as well, because like running is obviously like the first human movement outside of walking that we can all do. And so now you're taking that like, well, you got to, you know, doesn't matter what your deadlift is, doesn't matter what your power clean is. Can you run 8K? Can you do kilometers fast? Can you do this grunt work? So now you're just looking at different energy systems. So although a lot of CrossFitters can and are very successful at living at 180 beats per minute and redlining for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, even the best can redline for an hour. But like, how are you going to get better at that? Are you just going to keep redlining, or are you going to look at like building your base, periodized training programs? Are you going to just basically attack it a different way? And like the short term to get better at running, yeah, you could do like HIIT training and you could do intervals. But after about, well, the science says between 8 and 12 weeks, you're going to plateau. So you kind of want to dip in and out of that type of training long term. Obviously, we know the pros and cons of HIIT training. I won't bore you with that, but it's pretty dull and pretty exhausting. So you want to actually spend a lot of time doing like steady state, methodical like stuff in your running and your training, but then you want to get the adaptation, so you make your fast sessions very fast and very intense, and you keep your strength sessions relatively short and simple, and then you create like your blends or your chippers or your wads, and you create them specific as you can. So you get those like three ideologies mixed together, and about 6 months of time, you're going to be pretty good at Hyrox, even though you might not know it. But it's just most people now look at Hyrox going, how do I get better? And they're doing smaller simulations, longer simulations, then they're going out for a run, then they're going out for another run, or they're just running a bit faster, then they're lifting, and nothing's really specific to it. Whereas, like if you speak to a triathlete, they are very specific. They will do each 3 disciplines like in a day at different intensities, and then if one of them is their weakness, they will hone in on that weakness. And if your weakness is like, running, that's 60% of the event, that's where you want to start. So it creates like different arguments, and there is, I guess, no method that's certified. But if you just look at like training energy systems and heart rate training modules, then you're going to learn a lot about it and understand that like if you run a kilometer very fast, do 1,000 meters on the ski erg, run another kilometer, you're now around 10 minutes. Okay. And if you go too fast, your body's chosen the anaerobic pathway. And immediately coming into that is a sled that's 175 kilos plus 35 kilos that you've got to move on basically a carpet that is stuck down by some builders. So
it feels like that carpet. I had a little pull of the sled, and it felt like the carpet was stuck down with double-sided sticky tape, and then someone had like stuck double-sided sticky tape on the top as well. It was like,
I mean,
that's literally how it feels. It's that heavy.
They're very efficient. I mean, it's supposed to be hard. Like every gym,
they're all German. Of course, they're very efficient.
Yeah, they literally like it is. It's much of a muchness, but like you can go to one gym, like my gym, I train at Gymbox Farringdon. Like the track is like glass. I have to put like 450 kilos on it to feel the similar sort of vibe. So, you got to work that out in your training. So, if you've just been pushing 175 in your pure gym, and then you get to the event and you've been moving it easily, you've missed a trick, because it's not going to feel like that on the day. But my point is there's different avenues and methodologies to train for it, and like certain people are going to have advantages if they're taller because of the ergs, and stronger because of the farmers carries and the lunges and the wall balls. And then you're going to have that runner that's like super quick. Maybe he's got like a 32-minute 10K or something, and he might be really good at the open wave, but like those weights are too heavy and he doesn't have enough body weight to push those sleds or pull those sleds. So it's, and that goes across, all the categories as well. So, yeah, it's fascinating when you break it down.
Fun. That was the funny thing, actually, when like looking at the methodology and how different people were moving. That's what I found really interesting watching, because I, to be honest, I didn't actually get to watch that much. I was in the Red Bull truck for like all day. But I got to watch, I think it was the individual pro, which was sort of in the afternoon, or the individual elite or whatever it was. But when the Gen Pop were going as well, while that was happening, you could really tell the people, the CrossFitters, you could tell the sort of runner / endurance athlete, and you could tell and you could tell like the OCR guys, because the CrossFitters were like smashing the machines and the sled pushes and stuff like that.
And not recovering on the run.
Yeah, basically. And the guys, the run at like the endurance guys were doing it the other way around. So they'd do the run in like 3.5 minutes and then come back and like not struggle, but were not as proficient in pushing sleds and, ski erging and stuff. And then the OCR guys were just good at all. And that's kind of how I feel about Hyrox. It's like, it's just for me, it's not just, that's not what I mean. It is another event for OCR guys and girls to be doing really well at, right?
It is. I think in the men's category, it still favors like the heavier athlete. You look at like the top 4 or 5 times, like Hunter's obviously came from Spartan,
But
an
I said which
OCR.
races?
I know he's like the ultimate hybrid athlete, right? He just won Go Ruck and a bunch of other stuff, and then you got Ryan Kent and Tobias. Like Tobias is slight, and then Tim Vinich, he's a really exciting athlete out of Germany. He's got like his frame doesn't look like anything. He just literally just looks very slender, but he's running 3:30-minute kilometers like it's Christmas. So, but then further down you go, there are more, that CrossFitter type that will do well at this. I mean, the ultimate body, I would say, is probably like for a guy to win, it's like 6'2", maybe like 88 kilos, 86 kilos, and fucking lung capacity like a rower, and anybody who's in that mold, you're laughing. You're sort of primed and ready to go. If you're like under 80 kilos in the pro category and in the male category, it's like those sleds, mass moves mass. So straight away you're up against that.
Yeah, you're not pushing a 210 kilo sled if you only weigh like 60 kilos.
You will push it, but it will exhaust you to the amount that you won't be able to play to your strength, which is the running. So that's what it's all about. So
that's really the only bit that I would go anywhere near looking forward to. Because I'd like lean on the thing and it would just move. I'd love it.
Yeah.
But it's only slightly higher than my body weight. Like,
yeah,
I'm not even joking. It's real.
I recommend you try one. Even like the relay or the doubles. Doubles is slightly, it's more fun. The singles can be quite lonely running down there and training for it all by yourself. It is repetitive training. You did say, it sounds hard. It sounds hard, and it is. Depends what your goal is, but doing the doubles with a friend is much more fun. It's lighthearted. It's like a partner workout at the gym. You just, you can chat some shit halfway around to each other, and know that you're gonna have a beer soon. So when you're by yourself, that's a lonely, pain cave. That the wall balls just seem so far away. And you're just too exhausted after to go out. So when you do doubles, you've always got time and energy for a beer after.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of doubles because you have to run together for doubles, don't you? But then you can sort of switch in and out on any of the equipment, which is not too bad.
Yeah.
But then for me, like that becomes then an interval workout rather than an endurance workout. So
different.
I'm doing that for the win.
Suited to like football players, rugby players, that short, you go in 30 seconds, you're going for 2 minutes, then you rest in. That stop-start mentality is like perfect to anybody that grew up playing football. You can adjust, especially if you're still playing power league and stuff around the city or whatever, then, you're laughing. You can jump in.
That's decent.
Yeah. I was looking at it in light with kind of looking at Hyrox with the light of like the 10 elements of fitness that's often stated kind of from the CrossFit methodology, and it's I think with the it's real heavy on the endurance side, right? And so we kind of talk about that's why you've got that, and Sam, you mentioned how you see it from different sides. Whether it be someone who's got like more of a CrossFit background who's recovering on their runs versus an OCR who is probably thriving on their runs, and but I guess that's where like the doubles kind of comes in that, because then you can lean more on your kind of your stamina and your power, because you're not having to kind of keep that level of kind of intensity as high, right? So I guess there's a little bit less of the kind of like going down to the kind of the skills, like the coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance, right? So you got wall balls, and I guess there's like the lunges as well. So there are elements of that, but it's not as not as kind of advanced as perhaps you might get in say like a functional fitness competition, and that's what I guess makes it more accessible, right? And I remember talking to Christian, he was kind of saying like people like 90% of people in the gym could look at Hyrox and be like, that's something I could work towards, whereas it's probably not that many people who work towards, say, a functional fitness competition, because there's a bit more of a barrier to it. That's not saying one is right and one is wrong, but I can see where the space for a Hyrox event came from, because of the kind of like the lower barrier to entry, kind of like just like a kind of like a a 5K, a park run, things like that. People can look at that and go, that's something I can work towards.
the interesting thing. So I chatted to, sorry, George, just quickly. So I chatted to my my friend Stacey, and she was saying that she did it at the weekend, and she was saying that it was like a functional fitness competition, but there was nothing there that she was particularly stressed about.
Yeah,
Some people get stressed about box jumps or a heavy deadlift, or a heavy a toaster bar or something like that. But it was actually, as you say, like it was Tom. It was accessible, like for the masses.
Basically, I'll tell you who this is perfect for. Like, forget your higher end calorie athlete. Forget those. Like, if you've done a Spartan race or a Tough Mudder is perfect. But you've decided not to do that obstacle because it's too dangerous, too hard, and you've just walked around it and kept running. Hyrox is perfect for you because, like, you can do this. It's just literally you've got to show up. There's stuff in Spartan race and obstacle course racing, and even at the scaled versions of CrossFit that you're like, oh, I can't do that bit of the workout. I'll do it till then and then stop. And Hyrox doesn't have any of that. And it's just how fast do you want to go? So that's the beauty about it. But we'll see where it goes. There's a long way to go for the sport, and there's some definite room for improvement in the sport and the judging and officiating, and then just like getting the match done, and how do we get the best of the best athletes to compete, and how do we get what's the overall message? Like, does it want to go down the health route? Do you want to like fix obesity? Do you want to just like be a branded stand like everything else in life? Do you just want to make money, or do you want to like change the world? It's got questions to ask. CrossFit's definitely helped with and made a lot of eyeballs realize like their eating habits and their sleeping habits and how they recover. And Hyrox needs to take stock of that as well, because you're now getting so many new athletes that are getting exposed to like, oh shit, I've been living my life like incorrectly for 30 years, like, as opposed to like my eating habits, my sleeping habits, and I'm now trying to get good at this. Like, how much of that information do you want to digest? There's markets around all of that, and the data.
It's not necessarily the incorrectly. It's just like, if you
not
didn't
incorrectly,
know,
but
if
like,
you didn't know, you didn't know, right? Like if
yes and no. There's just like pure naivety, and now there's like obliviousness. There's 65 million people in this country. We've got 38 million people in the that are classified as obese. They're putting a massive strain on our our society, essentially. Like, if you think about it, like with COVID and everything, and don't get started on that, but essentially, like, how do we bring a nation out of that? You just had like an arena fitness event, 4,000 people sold out after like 6 months. That's unheard of. Do you make this a 2-day event? Do you make this do you increase it? Do you drop the price and get more people coming in? Do you bring in different sponsors? What other brands want to get involved? There's so much more to it. But for me, if I was in charge, I'd have this shit running at schools. Everyone's got to do this. You can't graduate until you've done a Hyrox. That would be me, because that's how much I care about it. I see that kids these days, they exercise less and less. They're on e-bikes, they're on e-scooters, they're a mess, they're stuck to video games, they're talking about NFTs. And I'm like, you need to run a Hyrox. I want to shake these little punks. So for me, it's like, I want to get more people involved younger before they, go down that metaverse reality, whatever those goons do. But that's how I feel about it. So for me, like, hard work and honest work in this environment is like, that's the best drug there is for me. And you guys, obviously, you work out, that feeling after a hard CrossFit workout, how good you feel, right? But then think about the price of CrossFit. It's £250 for a box in London. You're going to get the shoes because you don't want to be left out. You're going to get lifting shoes because that's a component. Your own skipping rope, your chalk bag, your Noble bag, blah 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 blah.
You can tell you hang out a wit.
Well, I mean, all the boxes are the same. I don't know what a box up north is. It's probably a bit cheaper out west. But Hyrox, you need a pair of running shoes. There's no excuse. There's none. And for me, like, if you've got a 200 kilo deadlift and a 160 kilo back squat, good for you. Can you do that when you're 50? Maybe. Can you do that when you're 60? Definitely not. But you can do all this when you're 50 and 60.
That's going to
And
bring us on to some
that's
epic news in a minute as well.
well, that's longevity. You know, that's health. You know, like that's movement. So there's just so many ways to explore it all. But like for me, it's like I'm passionate about like helping people get better. You know, and like I mean, without sport, my life would be very, very different. You know, I'd have made some horrific errors in my life. And sport and competing is always like that's my discipline. You know, so and training evolves around that, and so I just become obsessive with all the little nuances about it and how to get better for myself and how to make my clients better. Like after this podcast, I'm going to read a book about like heart rate training. You know, I'm reading like a science paper about it, or I'm reading something else about like the optimal stride for like 10-kilometer running, or like what's the best way to recover without messing with without messing with nootropics. And I'll keep reading and gathering information so I can apply it to my own life and anybody I coach's life. So, and that's what Hyrox has the power to, because you're getting 4,000 people to an event. It's a lot of eyeballs. I don't know how many people get to like a CrossFit event or when one goes on, but I know it's not 4,000 people, and that market's fairly saturated as far as like branding and shoes, and they know about Whoops and they know about this and they're entering that, but the Hyrox athlete doesn't. Some of them do, but the way the sport's growing, it has the power to like you can run one of these in a city every other weekend in the UK.
And I think that's the good thing about sport and fitness. Like if you walked into any gym in the country, I hope that they would say exactly what you just said. And I'm not talking just CrossFit gyms. I'm talking any gym. That is the business. Fitness is the business of making people better human beings, like more fit human beings, more able to life, as you say, longevity. At the gym that I go to, it's a massive thing. We run longevity classes. I know that. I know that CrossFit Glasgow, for example, I was up there a little while ago. They have their silvers classes. They're brilliant, and I think you guys do, don't you, at the box, Jason? Do you have like a longevity-ish sort of for your older members?
No, they just
join classes. Which
they either do one-on-one, or when they're in a class, they're looked after. I mean, everything. The coach to athlete, the coach to to individual ratio anyway within a class is so that they can be very on top of it. So generally across the board, people are getting scared. It's more than the only classes that are completely separate, obviously kids classes, because they can't train together. So you've got like Harvey's class. I think he's in the 6 to 8 or something, 6 to 10. I don't know what age it is that they start, and then there's a younger, and then there's a teens class as well. But yeah, I kind of I don't know. I agree with a lot of it. I disagree with some. Maybe just because of me, because like we started this by me sort of saying that I've done one competition, wasn't for me. It's not why I train. Very much train for longevity. So like maybe I do it. Like they're 150 wall balls. It's like my nemesis. So maybe I do it.
You don't have to do it if you do it in a pair. You don't have to do it on your own. And it's only 100 wall balls or 75. Is that a thing for males?
No, it's 75 female open, 100 for everybody else. No, I mean it's tough. It's got to be tough though, because that kind of makes it worth doing, right? If it was easy, it wouldn't be a thing. If it was like fully like I can do that without any training or any thought, they wouldn't challenge us, So it has to be a little bit intimidating. It has to be a little bit of fear factor. It's social media builds these sports now. Like it's like social credit, literally, and that like Tough Mudder, like the best thing they ever did was give away the photos for free, right? And so that everyone's just like posting pictures of them, like doing something, that's just fairly interesting. If you don't do that on your social media, and then you see your friend Jeff like jumping over a fire like in Spartan, or if they've gone to a CrossFit competition, they're doing something that's like, oh, that's cool. And so it's now that again you're capturing someone's suffering like in a Hyrox, and it should be intimidating, but the education around that should be like and you're going to suffer too, just like everybody else. Not like you need to be scared. You can't do that. I'm not fit enough to do Hyrox yet. Like, I need to get some more training before I do it. All this bullshit. You just got to show up and do
a bit
it.
of hardship is good for you, though, right? Like,
yeah. Oh,
it just
it's
builds
what's
better
missing.
humans. It builds
Honestly.
better humans. Yeah.
Honestly.
Agree.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, and George, you mentioned this, in that, like, you know, and CrossFit's being part of it into bringing the barbells to the hobbyist, but also making like fitness has becomes people's focus, right? You know, and maybe in the past it was like you'd go and do S&C to support a team sport or something like that. But what we've seen, and it's not just CrossFit, it's functional fitness, it's kind of
CrossFit's cool.
like,
CrossFit's cool. If you do CrossFit, like, you're like, it's cool. It's got like, wow, like you're committed, you understand what you're doing, and you're investing your spare time in making yourself like harder to kill, right? So that goes a long way. You know, I've been in the industry since I qualified as a PT in 2002. Like, I remember when going to the gym was not that cool, you know, let alone like somewhere where you would spend your social time and social, you know, like, you know, you wouldn't make friends there either. You would like go do your workout and leave. So at best you might have a buddy you do chest and biceps with back in the day. That's still a thing. But now it's like people's entire lives, and my entire life evolves around the gym and the people I meet through it, and Hyrox and traveling for it. I mean, if I'm not doing that, I'm sleeping or eating.
Yeah, there's been a complete social evolution, and like you say, it's a lifestyle for people. You know, I don't think you'd have something like WIT existing as both a retail, training, social event space, right? Like it does now, because of this social evolution. And so, like, the point I was going to make was that, like, because of that, people can kind of, like, regardless of what you're training for or how you're training, like, you have the ability to do more and more and more, and like whether it be gathering information or doing more and more training. So and that was harder if like your exercise was like football. It was harder to do that 7 nights a week because you couldn't find enough mates to do it. Whereas like I think with like fitness, because it is individual, as much as you can do it as a team and stuff, you do have the ability to kind of like almost overcook it. So going back to the longevity side, I think irrespective of whether you're kind of like doing too much kind of like CrossFit training or doing too much of anything, like gonna spin 6 days a week, right? You've got to make sure you're giving your body chance to recover. And that's one of the things I think we've got to be careful with the kind of like the fitness community, is that we can almost like overconsume it both physically and from an information point of view.
100%. Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And those, you know, I put myself in that, you know, like from the outside looking in, people would say I overtrain. You know, I just spent 2 weeks training with Hunter. I would say that Hunter overtrains. The difference is that me and Hunter both know what our bodies can and can't do. And like, it's just, you know, your injury record and record for competition and how you are will speak for itself. If you're always like wrecked, then yeah, maybe you need some rest. You know, if you're like good to go, then you're good to go. You know, your adaptation is good. So it's, you know, it's a pretty simple way to track it, but like, yeah, pay attention to your body. And the new athlete coming into these functional fitness competitions like Hyrox won't be aware of that. They'll just be like, oh, I can keep going, I feel good. And then one day they're going to crash and burn. And yeah, it takes a little bit of experience, and there's lots of points to be made on that. I guess is, you know, there's a lot of people, again, 40 million people that are obese in this country can't be worried about overtraining. That's a better problem to have than like the other version, which is just like, you're a walking heart attack, mate, to be fair. And, you know, you can call it whatever you want, but, you know, that's what obesity is. You know, obesity is a cancer. It's just, we give it a, you know, we've given it a posh name. And it's a global, you know, global issue because of our eating and exercise habits. It's not that difficult to work out, but for some reason we're so addicted to these foods that are unnatural, and you know, we're just glued to the TV and the cell phones night and day that we don't even have a chance to come out of this space to realize like what we're shoving down our mouths. So, and then someone goes, oh, do you want to run? And they look at you like you're crazy. You know, it's like, yeah, that's the first human movement other than walking. Like, you run. Like, you wouldn't be here if your ancestors couldn't run. So that the large like disrespect it has from people is just like, yeah, I want to, yeah, it makes my blood boil, dude, you know? Like I said,
I
you wouldn't be able
never
to
would have been able
graduate.
to tell that.
I know.
Never
Dude,
would have
honestly,
been able to tell.
honestly, for me, here's the easiest way to fix it. This is what you do. You say you're not allowed to vote until you're in shape, and then someone comes along and makes a very generous way of what constitutes in shape. So you have no voting. Yeah, sorry, you can't vote until you're in shape. Done. You've got yourself a year. We had 2 years of the pandemic. Everyone could have done it. Everyone had the time. But people like being like that. So now it's a choice. Now it's not, now it's not subconscious or unconscious. It's a conscious choice. People want to do, they want to drink 7 nights a week. They want to eat Doritos until they're sick. They want to live on kebabs. They don't want to help. They're not interested. They're like, give me a pill, give me something so that like I look better. That's what 90% of people are like waiting for. So it's convoluted because that information is being pumped out there with like newspapers. I'm sure we've all seen one of those like collages of a Daily Mail headline and all like the bullshit headlines that it's created over the years, or like all the fitness magazines that have like get shredded abs in 8 days or 8 weeks or whatever it is, and it's the same narrative over and over again. Like it's easy.
You can't do that.
Well, we know we can't do that, but like people that
I'm
are
just
buying.
waiting for that. I'm just gonna. I was just planning on doing that at some point. Just 8
Sure.
days, shred up. Is
Shred up?
Oh,
yeah. But all you see around London still is those billboards saying like get shredded in 12 weeks, or like there's so many gyms that advertise these transformations, and they're all nonsense because I know half these people, and maybe they do get shredded for a photo and there's a different light on the end of the camera and they've slapped some fake tan on, but I know these people after what happens, and they're a mess, and they yo-yo, and it's not sustainable. But like I said, if you do CrossFit semi-regularly, Hyrox, if you train for you make it your lifestyle, then you'll be in good shape pretty much all year round and you'll be reasonably healthy. And but because it's not exciting enough to sell, people are like, oh, no, that doesn't seem very worthwhile. I want to get shredded for Ibiza. I'm going in 4 days. Let's do 19 sessions. It's the mouthpieces that have a voice still on social media around fitness need to be deleted. From like the top-down accounts that have like 3 and 8 million followers from various girls posting themselves like half nude in Gymshark. Like these are not role models. Hunter's a role model. If you want to look, you want to get, you want to do something, you want to get somewhere. If you're a young kid, look at that guy. So there's various things that we need to pay attention to, but hopefully, like a lot of these, like Battle Cancer is an awesome brand. Hopefully, we got Strength and Depth. All these companies are just like so positive around their message, and Hyrox needs to be a part of that conversation as well. And everybody can coexist in this space, but it needs to like attract new blood, and it needs to have eyes on the prize rather than making it another private sector of the industry. It needs to do more for the public health because no one else is going to fucking do it. The government, the biggest changes the government make will like change the watershed time for like an advert selling you whatever, Doritos or McDonald's. That's not going to fix the obesity crisis. So you now have a company like Hyrox that's like, right, we're backed by Puma, Red Bull, and Concept 2. Like, how do you that's power, that's money. You can have a say in this. But I don't know, it gets murky, right? So lots to find out in the future which way it goes. But that's my passion, is I want to help people.
I'm looking forward to seeing where Hyrox goes in the future.
There's
going to be a whole bunch of brands, a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be making a whole bunch of difference, I reckon, in the world.
Definitely.
For the better, I think.
Definitely.
Well, we're at like an hour and a quarter now, which is a little longer than we wanted to be, but we've had a great conversation. That's nothing. That's not to do with you, George, at all. That is, we've had good conversation around the plate stack. I don't know. You've all chatted around a plate stack. Come on, don't even pretend like you haven't been there longer than you wanted to be. Everyone's done that. I'm guys, could you just get out? Yeah, could you just get out the gym now? We want to mop the floor and leave. No. But George, thank you so much for coming on and giving us giving us the 1-2 for what is
No worries.
Hyrox,
Appreciate you
what's
having me.
happening at Hyrox. Tom, thanks again. You're a ledge. Jace, legend too.
Cheers, guys.
If you want to catch up with us, then you go to @plate.stack.chat. Mark, we've got some shout outs. Mark Applin, great conversation, everyone enjoyed it. Let's show that before we go. Mark, do you know Mark, George?
Yes.
Mark Applin. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Nice one, Mark.
Give him a cuddle.
Catch up soon.
Excellent. Well, if you want to catch up with us on Instagram, you are @plate.stack.chat. If you want to catch up with George, he's @GE_training. The usual. Jason is @JasonCF Media, and Tom @Chalking Fitness. We haven't promoted Chalking Fitness enough this week. Chalking Fitness will in fact be at the CrossFit UK and Ireland gathering, I believe. Is that next weekend, Tom?
Big move. This coming weekend.
This coming weekend, the next available weekend, if you're listening to this tomorrow.
So send in your questions for next Wednesday, and we'll get Tom to answer them all from memory.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much. We'll be back next week at 8 p.m. Same time, same place here on YouTube. Podcast is always out on a Thursday morning. Thanks, guys, and we shall see you again soon. Bless you all. Bye.